Hello, this is cybersecurity student Reginald Andre, and we are on episode 5, and we're going to be talking about a new rule that the Security and Exchange Commission is putting on public companies. And before you say, wait, I'm not even going to listen to this video because I'm not a public company, listen up. It all starts from the top. When rules from the government wants to go down to the small businesses and the mom and pops like you and I, they start at the top, and it's only a matter of time till this rule starts to trickle down to small businesses like you and I. So let's get started in our Tech Walk episode, where I walk around and you get to see the scenery. I'm still in Tampa, day 5 in Tampa, and just enjoying the walk here. So the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, they're basically, they just voted. And honestly, I thought this rule had already been done a while ago, but I'm surprised that it wasn't fully in effect. So they just voted to basically rule that if you're a public company and you have a material breach, which basically means that you confirm that there was a breach and there's room to believe that the hackers got personal identifiable information such as emails, data, social securities, all of that, you have to now report it to them. Now, what would happen before is that, and you have to report it within 4 days. That's the most important part, because a lot of times the companies, these public companies, they would report it, but it would be like 4, 5, 6 months later. They'll wait for like a holiday, slow news day, Friday night type of thing where they would report it. So the SEC is coming at the angle like, look, your investors need to know, because if you got a business compromise, like let's look at Rackspace, for example, and there was a compromise and people didn't know about it, people didn't know the details, people don't know anything, and you're an investor, maybe you want to sell, maybe you don't want to invest in this. So there's a lot of different reasons why, but the SEC is basically coming at and saying, if you do get some type of material breach, you need to let us know. And of course, once you let the SEC knows, then there is essentially it's public, right? Now, there are going to be some rules that says that, maybe it's involving national security and it's better that the public doesn't know and you're working with different agencies. Yes, there's going to be some type of omission for that. I think this is great because people need to know, like if I'm dealing with a public company and my email address is now compromised, someone knows my email address, someone knows my account information, I need to know that I need to be out specifically on the lookout. To give you a perfect example, now this is not a public company, but let's just say movie theaters. I'm going to use a perfect simple example. Let's just say a movie theater email got compromised, right? Their emails got compromised, their database got compromised, and now they know all of the movies that I visited. I don't want to name any movie theaters because they necessarily didn't get compromised, but just to say a big national chain movie theater got compromised. Their database got compromised. They know what movies I saw. They know the email address I used. They have my credit card information. Now, what would happen before this rule is that this public company wouldn't have to disclose as fast to me, the consumer. And now, let's just say I'm checking my personal Gmail, and last week I watched Transformers, and now because of this breach, the bad guys know I watched Transformers. What they would do now, what the bad guys would do is they would create a new phishing email, and they would say, hey, Mr. Andre, we hope you love your movie Transformers. Click this link for your next movie's half off, or next movie you're getting free popcorn, whatever it is. But it would trick people, because if I'm just looking at my email and I see an email that looks like it's coming from one of these movie theaters, and they know that I watched the movie Transformers at 3 o'clock last Friday, it looks legit, right? I mean, how would the hacker know that I watched Transformers last Friday at 3 o'clock? So this is what the bad guys are using. So now with this rule, they have to let the SEC know. And I'm sure now that you're letting the government know, you're going to now want to put a public spin to this. You're going to want to notify your customers, hey, you're probably going to see this on the news where, it's under control or we're investigating or whatever. But I think this is important. Now, there is one piece of this rule I think is going to be a little problem, but I think the good, there's still good in it, where basically you're not going to detail your security practices, but you do need to disclose that you do have cybersecurity practices, and you have to answer some questions. Now, some people is going to say, well, you're basically giving the playbook of your cybersecurity practice, your methods to the bad guys. They're going to use this against you, because if you now say, we have this feature, we have this firewall, or whatever the case is, you are kind of giving people more information. But I think that's going to be polished a little. The main concern, and I think the main thing that SEC wanted to see in this, is that you do have a plan. And I don't think they're going to want to know the details, such as the model of your firewall or what antivirus or SOC system you're using. I think they just want to know that you have something, because, man, we've seen this summer has been so busy. Obviously, you have to move it, but man, the summer has been so busy in different attacks and different compromises. And one of the reasons I had mentioned in the beginning that you wanted to watch this, even if you're not a public company, is because typically with the government, they always start at the top. They start with the regulation, the companies that they have regulation power over, and then they try it with them, and then things trickle down to the small businesses. Now, that may be a few months or a few years down the line, but you can best believe that other regulated industries are going to have to follow this rule. Even if you're not a top Fortune 100 company, but other industries that the government can now see, okay, look, we did it on this. This is the good and the bad. We may water it down a little, but if you're a business, you have to have this. And I personally think it's a good step, because what we've been doing the last 5 years is not working. The bad guys are like five times ahead of us. And I think it's time for a change. I think it's time to try something new. And if it takes regulation, then, putting a seatbelt requirement, if the government didn't tell you to put a seatbelt on when you drive, or force the manufacturers to put a seatbelt in the cars, how many cars wouldn't have seatbelts because the manufacturer wanted to cut corners? And that's kind of like what we have right now, is because things aren't necessarily regulated, and you don't have to have this program or that program or this feature on your systems, they're not doing it, because they've probably never been hacked, and they think that, oh, well, it's never happened to us. It only happens to the government or to the big guys, or we don't have anything that the hackers want. So that's kind of my rambling there, but I hope this was useful. I hope you enjoyed the background. As I start to be more consistent in my videos, I am going to get something a little better to hold the phone. I know it's shaking. I know the microphone is probably not the best quality, but if you think about it, your iPhone is a $1,000 camera. So I don't want to invest too much, but definitely I'm going to get something like a stabilizer, so as I'm walking, it's not shaking. I think the audio is okay. But I'll improve. I just wanted to make sure that this is something that you guys enjoy. Make sure my views are up. And once I see that people are watching, I'll invest in, maybe like a $70 hand stabilizer, so when I'm walking, the video's not going shaking like that. But I hope you enjoyed the view. I'm gonna now go inside with my family, enjoy some time off on the Saturday morning. All right, take care from Tampa.